Okay, let's do frontside flips. Everybody loves them. If you have a good frontside flip, you can literally make a career off of it. The standard setup position has our front foot hanging off the board a fair bit. So you're gonna see some space between your toes and the toe edge of the skateboard. How high you want it on the board is sort of up to you. It won't affect how much the board rotates as much as you think it will. Your back foot is gonna be on the center of the tail or just a little bit on the toe side. Never so far that your toes are actually off of the skateboard. Ultimately, your foot position is up to you. There's times where you can have your front foot pretty much all the way on the board and your back foot off of the heel side. What's important is that you're loading both sides of the board. What I mean by that is in the standard foot position, you can load the toe side of the board with your back foot and the heel side with your front foot. If you want your front foot more on the board, you can drop your back foot to the heel side and load the toe side with your front foot. This is important because this will let you go in a straight line in your setup, but also loading both sides of the board will help it flip. So the issues you might run into with setting up for frontside flips is you just get stuck in a super aggressive right-hand turn or heel side turn. You're gonna be spinning frontside and you're setting up for kickflip. So everything wants to fall off of the heel side of the board. You even need to load the heel side of the board to get it to start spinning properly. So you can really use your back toe down on the tail of the board to hold it flat as you're loading everything on the heel side so you can keep going in a straight line. Your weight distribution on frontside flips is super important. If your weight falls too much over your front foot, it's gonna be really hard to get the board to rotate. So we want our weight evenly distributed between our feet. You can even lean on the side of your back foot a little bit extra. Obviously this comes with some risk, so be careful, but right in between your feet is a really good spot to keep your weight. Getting the board to respond well to your launch is the hardest part. So we use our foot position and our weight placement to do everything we can to get the board to start rotating. The most common issue that you'll run into is that when you pop, your tail will stay right where it is and you'll start rotating around the board. So we're gonna use our weight placement in our foot position to try to get this board to be reactive as possible so we can get it to start spinning. The loading phase of a frontside flip might feel a little bit different than you expect. From the standard foot position, I want you to really lean on the fact that the ball of your back foot is in the toe side pocket of the tail. As you squat down to do the frontside flip, you can sit off of the heel side just a little bit extra compared to like a regular ollie. But as you do this, you push down on your back toe to keep the board flat so you can go in a straight line. What this allows you to do is as you pop, you can push the back foot forward like a front shove to initiate the rotation. If you bend down for the frontside flip and start falling forward, it's gonna be really hard to get the board to rotate the way that you want it to. You run into the issue where the board under rotates and you end up landing in front of it. It's just no fun. I think this is the best way to load a frontside flip because you will consistently be able to rotate the board easily. The hardest part is getting it to do the 180. So if you can figure this out where you're sitting a little bit back on the heel side, but you're flattening the board out with your tail, this puts you in a really good position and will start to give you confidence quickly that you can get the frontside flip all the way around. The launch phase will be very similar to a front shove. Don't get too caught up trying to rotate the board by dragging your front foot around and kicking it down at the ground. When you set up, since we sit a little bit back on our way down, we can pop and push our back foot out in front of us, just like we would for a front shove. If you're having trouble getting the board to rotate, something I recommend you learn is ollieing and pushing the board out on your toe side, like this. if you can pop and throw the board in front of you, you'll be in really good shape when it's time to rotate the frontside flip. The way that the tail strikes the ground for a frontside flip confuses a lot of people. And I understand why, but what we're gonna start by doing is breaking the tail down into 3 different sections. We have the center of the tail, we have the toe side of the tail, and we have the heel side of the tail. Since it's spinning frontside and doing a kickflip, most people assume that you strike the ground with the heel side of the tail. When in reality, we strike the ground with the center or the toe side to help the board start rotating this way. If you pay attention to the kickflip portion of a frontside flip, it's important to pop off of the toe side of the tail because that will present this rail to your front foot so you can confirm the flick. If you're too much off of the heel side, you can run into the issue that when you pop, this rail runs away from you and you start flicking air. Just because you're rotating doesn't change the fact that we want that heel side rail coming at our front foot to help us flip it. The direction that the tail is moving while it strikes the ground is really important. Don't skip over this idea because the frontside flip should be easy to rotate. And if you're watching this video, I have a feeling it's not. So the direction that the tail is going into the ground is just like a front shove. It goes out in front of you and that nose will start dropping back. But we want to feel like the board is being sent out to the toe side while we do it. That's the shape of a frontside flip right there. So if you watch my videos, you know I'm a huge fan of winding up. Everything's wind up this, wind up that. The reason I don't stress a big wind up for a frontside flip is because as you start crossing this shoulder and doing this proper wind up, it starts to take away your kickflip. Your hip doesn't really want to move out the direction that it needs to go. So I'm a fan of setting up more square and just getting a little bit open as you're launching. That is the reason that we're talking about the rotation more like a front shove than a front 180. The standard footwork while you're in the air is a combination of a front shove and a kickflip. So let's talk about what each of those look like. You jump off of the board before the tail hits the ground. And you're sending the tail with your back foot out in front of you. So your tail will be going at the ground towards your toe side. From this position, you can plant your front foot up against the nose. And I always really like this example. You can see I have white shoes on. I'm leaving streak marks up in the nose from my frontside flips. So you can see just how high on the nose that foot is really planting. The rotation is taken care of by the back foot, and the kick flip is taken care of by the front. Plant your front foot on the nose, really feel it, and then just lightly raise and flick your front foot to get it to flip. I say raise it because we don't want this issue where you're planting your foot and then kicking straight at the ground. So it will feel like you get it and the flick direction is actually up and out just a little bit. The pros and cons of using this method to flip the board is it's just difficult, but that's the nature of frontside flips. They're not the easiest trick to start with, so make sure you're giving a lot of practice to your kick flips and your front shoves and your front 180s, and you might just have to put more effort into your jump than you think. You're halfway through the frontside flip and you're catching the board. Where is the board relative to your center line? So what I mean by center line is let's take halfway through our front foot and just draw a line up the center of our body this way. Is the board in front of you off your toe side, or is the board behind you off your heel side? At the halfway mark, you want the board sitting a couple inches in front of your center line off of the toe side. So the position that you want your feet is sitting your heels just a little bit off of the board. Definitely, we don't want our toes off the toe side because that'll make it really difficult to finish the rotation, especially if you're keeping your weight on your front foot at the halfway mark. So for the landing sequence, you have two really good options. The first option is what you see a lot in this tutorial, where you are floating and rotating frontside with a little bit of extra weight on the front foot. This allows you to plant the front wheels on the ground and step forward out of it. And the other option, which is really common with people who are great at frontside flips, is you have a little bit more weight on your back foot halfway. This might seem like it's harder to rotate, but this allows you to take your front foot and pull it back to finish the rotation. Ultimately, it's always going to be a combo of these two feelings, but it's up to you on which one you really want to lean into. For this example, I'm goofy, so I'll be balancing off of the inside of my right foot, do the frontside flip, and now I'll be balancing off of the inside of my left foot. This keeps us from looping out and falling out back seat. It's always nice when you land with your feet perfect, but this is skateboarding and it doesn't happen every time. Some of the common issues that you'll run into is landing super far on the toe side of the board. If this happens, you're gonna have to work really hard on finishing the rotation, focusing on really throwing everything around and less of that stepping motion that we talked about. If you find yourself sitting way on your heels behind the board, you might just have to accept that you'll be under rotating a little bit and sliding through the end of it. I hope you enjoyed this tutorial. Frontside flips take a lot of effort and a lot of hard work. Make sure you're being creative with your practice and using skills that aren't just trying the frontside flip over and over. Work on your manuals, work on your ollies, work on your front 180s, your frontside half cabs, shove-its, and kick flips. Put all of those tools that you learn together every time you try a frontside flip. Okay, go get them.